I'm sorry, I first just want to talk about my silly kitty. Look at that. She is watching her tail. So how's that taste, kitty? Now back to the real topic of today's video. Hi everybody, my name is Emery, and today I will be sharing my eating disorder, anorexia, orthorexia journey. So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below. Are we gonna have to kick you out? Are you being a little bit too loud and rowdy right now? Say hi, Sam. Hi, Sam. She still is trying to get her tail. See, look at that. Crazy kitty. Okay, with that being said, let's get started. So I've been thinking of making this video for quite a while now. I can't say that I am on the total upside of recovery, and that, eating and exercise and comparison and body dysmorphia is all resolved and things have gotten a lot easier, because things are still difficult, but my physical health and my mental health has improved drastically, so I feel comfortable about talking about it now. So that being said, I'm just gonna throw out a little disclaimer before I begin, saying if this is gonna trigger you in any way, shape, or form, if you've had previous struggles with any type of eating disorder, I will be touching on sensitive topics, and I don't want this to come off as anything besides me trying to help anybody out there, as well as just sharing my story. So click off this video if you feel like it'll be triggering. Yes. So we're gonna begin my 6th grade year, and also some back knowledge and history of little Emery. I have always been very competitive. I've always been super highly motivated and determined to be the best at sports. I can't say I was the best academically, but I was always just trying to be the best. And that was because I did have a best friend who was just I looked up to her, I idolized her. She was always super duper smart, super duper athletic, fast. She was always better at me in every way. And it's not like she was trying to be cocky or trying to be, the better person at everything, but she just naturally was. And I just always felt competition, so I felt that I needed to be just like her. And so from really elementary on, I've always had this idea that if I'm more like her, I'm better. And let me just tell you, she definitely was smaller, and I think I also saw that as excuse my brother, I saw that as something that I needed to achieve in order to be successful like her. So I kind of just created this idea in 6th grade that I'm gonna be super healthy. I started cross country, I started soccer, so I was very, very, very active, which if you're being super active and then you're also trying to restrict your diet, it's not a good equation, and it just resulted in very fast weight loss. I remember the first way I restricted, because I thought of food as healthy and unhealthy, is I restricted desserts and kind of demonized a lot of foods that I had loved for so long, and I stuck to very safe foods like veggies, fruits, quote unquote healthy, but really you need all these things, and you need fat, and you need protein, and you need carbs as well to fuel the exercise that I was doing, but I wasn't fueling my exercise at all. Christmas rolls around, I kind of just, I'm never super underweight, but I just was not healthy. And that's when my mindset kind of became worse about food, was December and then beginning of January into that spring. I would say my exercise compulsion got pretty bad because I started working out, isolating myself and working out. And if you know anything about these workout videos, you know that they're highly addictive, and especially for an eating disorder that loves the idea of, oh my gosh, straight cardio. Yes, I love this. I fell in love and I did cardio videos, and then spring of 2020 got really, really bad because I think, with quarantine, that was terrible. That really just like plateaued my mental health. And this is also like when a lot of my anxiety spiked. I had a lot of problems with my self-worth, and I just kind of felt a lot of self-hatred. If you can relate to this, like, it's so sad and you feel hopeless. You just kind of feel alone. And I remember I would, just isolate myself and convince myself out of things because I didn't deserve it, or because I wasn't like somebody else, or I wasn't deserving of this happiness. So it got super bad. I started to restrict even more. I didn't have the energy to exercise anymore, honestly. The only exercise I was doing was my little workout in my room, isolating myself. But I couldn't do soccer that spring. And it just became super easy to restrict because I would just hide everything. And then I was sent to treatment. Treatment was crazy. It was really scary. And I remember my parents telling me a few days before I went. So I didn't have much time to prepare myself mentally or physically. I'm not sure you can prepare physically. But I was really scared. Like, it was terrifying. And when I first got into treatment, like, it was such a shock to my body, and also, like, I was, like, in an area where, like, I didn't really know what was happening. I knew that I was not eating enough, and I knew that I was exercising too much, and I knew that I was not treating my body in a healthy way, but at the same time, I had no clue what this monster that was attacking me was. So I just kind of felt lost, and I did gain a lot from treatment, but also I feel like it didn't benefit me in a lot of ways, because going from somebody who had no clue about eating disorders to being exposed to so many girls who had triggering behaviors and who engaged in a lot of excessive exercise and restrictive behaviors, it just really it was like giving my brain, my eating disorder, ideas for new ways to hide food or, sneak around. And I highly recommend, if you're in this position, Kitty, come here. Oh my gosh. Come here, kitty. Ugh. I highly recommend, if you're in this position, that you talk about it with your therapist and, kind of discuss like a plan and just be super open and honest. But I was not honest. I really just wanted to get out of there as fast as possible. Yeah, I was so miserable, and I really faked the system. I cheated my way through. First, I didn't know what I was doing. Second off, I didn't want to recover. So it was just kind of like, putting a smile on my face and gaining weight was the way to do it. Then, once I got home, I instantly lost weight again. It wasn't as much, obviously, and I don't think I went into relapse, but my mindset wasn't correct, and I didn't have any support because we kind of just instantly went from treatment to no treatment, and that was also very, I think irresponsible of me, and especially not being anybody to say, hey, I actually do need this help. Can I please have a therapist or a dietitian? But I just kind of went at things on my own. And I started sports, I started school. It all happened really quickly. and I stayed the same weight for basically 3 years, which, if you know anything about the human body, and especially about teenage, maturing, growing bodies, you know that you don't just stay the same weight for 3 years. And I wasn't growing, I wasn't having my period or having any normal hormones because I wasn't, I was doing bare minimum. Life happens, and then high school starts. And high school, I think, was the biggest downfall for me because so much was changing. And my exercise was drastically increasing. I went from doing diving, which is a very low intensity, low cardio sport. And then I started cross country, and I was doing diving as well. On top of that, I was doing a lot more just like excessive running, and running in itself is so intense and it requires so much food and nutrition. And I've learned that now, but I think that's definitely when I plummeted into restrictive behaviors again, and I actually did injure myself because I was compulsively running, and I would run extra after practice, and that just resulted in a lot more anxiety too, because I had relied on my anxiety to be resolved through my running, because once I started running, the anxiety went away, everything was good. But now that I didn't have running, I just felt anxious, and I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? How am I gonna live? So then I went to more compulsive exercise. I thought of only exercise as being, oh, this amount of calories burned is acceptable, this amount of calories not burned is not acceptable. And it really just became about numbers, and that's definitely not how exercise should ever be for anyone. And it was miserable. It was so miserable. It was really isolating. It was really boring. And then, the winter just kind of got worse, and I continued to restrict, and I also started calorie counting, because then again, everything became about the numbers. And I didn't really lose weight, but I wasn't gaining weight, which I definitely needed to be gaining weight. I dealt with so much compulsive exercise. I would lie to people, and I would exercise, and I would say that I was doing one thing, but then I would be exercising, or I would leave during my off periods and go exercise. Just any excuse really to burn more calories. It got so bad to the point where I was causing physical damage. My feet struggled and suffered a lot, and I got my blood drawn, and I'd caused problems to my liver. My iron levels were very deficient. Calcium was very low. I was just very unhealthy, and I was unhappy. I was so unhappy. I was eating bare minimum, and I was still calorie counting, so it wasn't even like I was enjoying or being intuitive. It was not fun. It was not, eating socially at all. I was just eating to do exercise. And then it got so bad to where I needed a dietitian again, and a counselor, and we talked to my physician, and now I basically have a whole team. I really was in quasi recovery, just faking it for so long, so long. But really, I think the start of summer, I was so desperate to be over with this, and my routine and my exercising schedule was so demanding and so miserable. I was over, being controlled by the eating disorder, that I finally was like, hey, we gotta try something new. We gotta try something different. And I ate, and I ate, and I ate, and I ate, and I ate. And obviously I started off by doing more exercise than I would like to admit, because that was then again how I was coping with the anxiety of all the new foods and all this food that I was now eating. I did, struggle with exercise. But then once summer actually started and I started to get into a better routine and a better relationship, not only with the food, but also with exercise. The exercise decreased. That's not saying that like everything stopped and now my relationship with exercise is completely healed, but it's definitely gotten so much better. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I am on track to being fully weight restored. It's really difficult, and I'm gonna be open and honest with you guys now from now on, because I want anyone who's struggling to understand that they're not alone, and that if you need help, like, I'm here to help you, and I understand exactly what you're going through. What I've learned over this whole time period and through my recovery is that honesty equals recovery. So I love you all so much, and thank you so much for watching. I hope you all found something in this video that could be inspiring or beneficial, especially if you're going through something similar to my story. And my brother in the background, I'm so sorry. With that being said, I love you all so much. Bye, everybody.